The Fire Emblem series is a series of many ups and downs during its history. With the release of Fire Emblem Three Houses on its way to the ever so glorious Switch, I love it so much, I think it's time I reflected on the 3 Fire Emblem games on the 3DS. Because every one of the games has their good moments, and their bad moments. I'll talk about the story, then the gameplay, then the character roster, how much fun I had with them, and lastly, what I would do to improve it. So today, I'm covering the most divisive game in the series, in more ways than one, Fire Emblem Fates, Birthright, Conquest, and Revelations. Before the branching paths, you are revealed to be a child of Garin, and you have 4 retainers, 3 of them just being powerful butlers and maids, compared to assassins, samurais, and even knights. You have an established relationship with your brother Xander, who just wants to see you improve and trains you, even activating a dragon vein so you can heal in your duel against him. After training, you are taken to Garin's castle where Garin gives you a sick looking weapon and tells you to attack the prisoners. Afterwards, your avatar is forced to kill them, but he doesn't exactly want to since they are defenseless and weakened. But Garin kills 2 of them, and Leo Fate kills the others to not only spare your avatar from Garin's wrath, but also sparing the prisoners. You are then taken to Garin's castle where he gives you an assignment because of your hesitation, to see if an abandoned fort is really abandoned. He even assigned a berserker for you, so obviously you can't see this going badly for you in battle. Well, the berserker turned out to have been ordered to not only start the fight, but even assassinate you and even took out your retainer Gunter. After your character uses Rage Awakened dragon powers to nearly kill Hans, the blade you wield forcefully drags you into the bottomless chasm, where Lilith ends up giving up her human form to save you from death. After you get back up from the chasm, you are knocked out and taken to Hoshido, which is currently at war with Nor, your home for all of your life. Your character is welcomed by Makoto, your mother who longed for the day that you would return. In fact, everyone in Hoshido was wishing that you would return one day. However, the festivities are cut short when Sakura, one of your siblings, gets stuck in the mountain with Hinoka helping defend her. After rescuing Sakura and Hinoka, Hinoka gets ecstatic to see you back in Hoshido, and then a celebration begins for your character's return. However, a hooded figure appears and uses your sword to put so much dark energy or pressure to create an explosion, which not only scatters shards everywhere, but those shards come flying towards you, and in an act of motherly love, Makoto steps in to protect you and take the hit for herself, with the final words that come from her mouth being, "If you are alright." Needless to say, with this act and the fact that she died in your character's arms, your character goes into a berserker rage with their powers, and Ryoma is pretty miffed that his stepmother just died in front of him. And after that starts the branch of path to choose between the 3 routes. Birthright has you finding your siblings from Nor, and has you rescuing Kagero, heading through Chief to Garin, and even getting a sick upgrade to your blade, all ending with Garin's fight at the end. Conquest has you going through your siblings from Hoshido, has you going on missions of Garin's will, such as stopping an Ice Tribe rebellion, stopping a Chev rebellion, and going through your conquest of Hoshido. Revelation has you basically say, "Hey, I don't want to fight," and both families ignore fighting you since they both love you. However, when Corrin wants to defeat enemies from both sides to not only get them to stop fighting so that they would listen to him, Corrin is deemed a traitor by all and is basically on the run from both sides, slowly getting allies from both sides in order to face the real threat Anakos, who lives in the Valite Kingdom. Oh no. The Valite curse. Help me! I feel my body disintegrating! All jokes aside, the story is far from perfect, but I'd be lying if I said it was below decent overall. There's a looming threat throughout the story. The villains, despite being cartoonishly evil, are still a threat. And all 3 routes, the villains are always a threat, either by gameplay, by nearly killing the heroes, or just by their stats. And Garin does portray a very sinister villain that would command your loyalty whenever you're in the same room as him, or rather, has a feel like it. And the conflict of choosing the 2 sides is decently set up for just 6 chapters, giving you reasons for choosing either side. So what went wrong? Localization sucked. Not only that, but some of the characters could use some more screen time. Or maybe even just more time in the spotlight. Oh god. And admittedly, the main character can be a bit foolish or emotional at times, which can make him an idiot at times in the story. Keyword being at times. Overall though, the story was good, and I enjoyed playing through it the first time, and I enjoyed playing through it the next time. Like I said, it could use some improvement, but because of a few huge mess-ups in the story, has not only made it infamous, but pretty much declared the worst Fire Emblem game's story to many. So, what about the gameplay? Surely that went well with the fanbase. Well, actually yes, but really no. Conquest was mostly well received with the old fans who want to return to form after Awakening. Birthright is the most well received with the new fans who enjoyed the new Fire Emblem like an Awakening. And Revelations is the tech demo for new ideas for Fire Emblem stages, but you get most characters from both routes. Pair Up was now more balanced, as not only could the enemies be paired up, but defending and paired up is only after a certain amount of shield emblems was built up, with your characters only having the second character paired up defend when the meter is filled. Units paired up cannot attack while paired up. However, that does not mean that you cannot initiate attacks with a buddy unit. In comes Attack Stance, in which only activates when you attack with a unit with someone adjacent to the attacking unit. Attack Stance halves the damage that units would normally do, but you get a second person attacking. So this immediately makes paired up a lot more balanced already. Not only that, but you also get the added benefits of Awakening support system speed, which allows support system to rise up quicker than in previous Fire Emblem titles. And as someone who has played Fire Emblem 7 first, I cannot stress how much I appreciate this so much. Because I detest waiting like 60 turns for Ninian and Hollywood to hook up, Sane and Rebecca to get together, or for Urk and Nino to have twins. Needless to say, it's an improvement already on the gameplay. But what about the level design? Well, not to worry, as all three routes have different styles when it comes to level design. Birthright is the safest option, sticking to maps that are not bad but are not going to be getting awards. Conquest is willing to take risks, and not only has fairly challenging maps, but more ideas to be implemented. A great example would be Conquest Chapter 10. Revelations does have some gimmick levels, however, I'll admit that I had some fun with a lot of the levels. All three routes also have a My Castle feature, where you get to buy accessories, weapons, play the lottery, explore other castles, and unleash your inner weeaboo with the treehouse. To be honest, I never used My Castle that much, so I don't exactly have much to say about it. Lastly, I would like to discuss the changes made to the weapon system. Weapons no longer have durability. Instead, they have stat modifiers to help encourage different weapon usage. Good in theory, but in practice, don't bother using a weapon above steel rank, save for the brave weapons. Okay, let me just get this out of the way. As someone that likes Fates and its characters, I can see why you would dislike some of the characters, but just because you do doesn't mean that others will dislike them as well, and vice versa goes. So, my overall impression with the cast is solid. Not the best, but not the worst, to be honest. I mean, we get characters like Mitama, Selkie, Valoria, Soleil, Shigure, Sigbert, and Shiro for the second gen being favorites. And the first gen, Selena, Laszlo, and Odin are automatically favorites. The Royals, Nyx, Aboro, Niles, Kaze, and Kagero are probably the biggest favorites off the top of my head. I mean, I adore Tsubaki, Sakura, Flora, Felicia, Shura, and Corrin, so it's all good. Oh wait, I gotta mention Corrin. Corrin is, by and far, the most controversial lord in the entire series. They have a hatedom that could rival Micaiah from before Fates. Corrin honestly gets a lot of hate that I feel like they don't deserve, since they are similar to most Fire Emblem lords from what I have gathered. However, the most talked about criticisms for Corrin are them being stupid, they are naive, them having a sheltered upbringing makes them unrealistic to lead an army or least qualified, them having no personality, and finally for them being a Mary Sue. Well, let's run down the list, shall we? Being stupid. They make a few foolish mistakes, but nearly all Fire Emblem lords do, except for the most Mary Sue of them. Rated Dawn! Corrin does have decent intelligence, but low wisdom if you ask me. The reason I say this is because this post I found on Gamefaqs explains it best. Bad judgment and decision making isn't the same as being stupid. It's like, are you aware of Dungeons and Dragons? Dungeons and Dragons differentiates between intelligence, analytical ability, and wisdom, decision making. Corrin's naivety and poor decision making is an example of being unwise, having low wisdom, not being stupid, having low intelligence. There are plenty of characters who are stated to be smart but frequently make bad decisions. Lucaria Crescent from Final Fantasy VI was a top-notch scientist who thought dating basically Dr. Evil was a good idea. Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z is a brilliant tactician, but is easily manipulated by appealing to his pride or wrath. Half the casts from Big Bang Theory are geniuses with PhDs, but make poor life decisions that leaves them socially inept outcasts, etc. So them being smart doesn't necessarily mean these unstated many situations wouldn't have happened because he's clearly the type to act on emotion, not logic. See below. Being a good analyst wouldn't stop the first chapter revelation from happening, because Corrin wasn't willing to run away or stand aside to let his siblings duke it out. That doesn't mean he couldn't analyze the situation and see that doing what he did was a bad move. Just that he didn't care. Bad decision making again, not bad intelligence. And what else was he supposed to do if he wanted to stop the fighting? At least taking out the commanders would put the armies into disarray by breaking the chain of command. Corrin having an academic background actually isn't because everyone loves him. It's because he's royalty, and royalty were expected to have a good education. This is consistent in Fire Emblem. Even the lords who dislike books, like Hector and Ephraim, are stated to have had attended lessons. Naive. Nearly every Fire Emblem lord has been naive, save for a few. Seriously, you'd think that Corrin falls for every trick in the book, with how many times Corrin has been called naive. While Corrin is naive, he isn't to the extent of a blissful child. He's more willing to give people the benefit of the doubt. Leading an army despite being sheltered. This one is a valid point, I'll concede. However, I do have a counterpoint to this. He has been shown to have been trained by Xander multiple times in order to finally get out of the castle, to be able to help Ganon prior to Chapter 2. Not only that, but in all the routes, he has only his retainers and only gets the royals either by bailing them out or by them joining him by their own accord. And in Conquest, he even has his own doubts about the war he is in, and if he made the right choice or not. Them having no personality. Nice, naive, idealistic, and emotional. These are traits consistent with him. Most other lords have the nice, idealistic, and naive part, but I don't think many other lords have the emotional part as well. And if they do, they sacrifice one of the traits above. So he does have his own unique personality in the Fire Emblem Lord category, so I don't think this is a valid criticism. Maybe I'm just being stupid. I don't know. Being a Mary Sue. While they do get their own blade by Chapter 6, and they have their own dragon blood, he is not the only one with such things. Xander, Leo, Takumi, and Ryoma all get their chosen weapons and have such blood as well. Not only that, but they never get away from being called out for making bonehead decisions. Even with Anthony in Revelations, where haters of Corrin point to this moment, he gets called out by Takumi for trusting Anthony again. You might hate Corrin at the end of the day, but I personally adore Corrin and relate to him more than the other lords in the franchise. Let me set the stage for this one. The 3DS just had a hit that everyone had because there wasn't that many games, and the one Fire Emblem game they released on it turned out to be a huge hit. So, with me and other fans who played Fire Emblem Awakening, the hype was huge because of the marketing behind this one. Even a direct for Fire Emblem Fates itself. So, when I finally got Birthright, I was hooked. I loved the game, the music, the characters, and you get the gist. I wanted more, but honestly did not like that the other routes was behind a DLC wall. Which honestly sucked, but I got them anyways. I had fun, and I even played Conquest on hard mode, and got all the way until the Great Wall, before I decided to change the difficulty. Yes, I'm a casual scrub. Honestly, the game was just fun, and I loved every minute of it. What would I change? The localization team would clear up so much if they were changed. Some world building would be nice as well. I would love to see characters from the opposing side you picked be more of a lingering threat. I'm not talking about the royals, I'm talking like the retainers, characters like Nyx or Charlotte or Benny on Birthright, since they are named characters, and, you know, you get the gist of that. Keep the characters consistent in terms of wisdom. Gas did a whole video on Xander. And fix the weapons, please. Silver weapons got so castrated in this game. And that should cover it. Overall, I loved Fates and honestly think it's my favorite of the 3DS titles. And honestly wait for the day of Three Houses release. Tune in next time when I cover the remake of the ancient relic Echoes.